We just wrapped our State of Disneyland report, and what a day. We caught a pretty cool and informative scene at Toontown. Talked a bit about change being in the air at Disneyland, and of course, took you on a complete tour around the park, every land, every attraction. Join us on our State of Disneyland report. Before we get down there, before we head into the parks, let's take a quick look at the entrance crowd coming in here, because I noticed while I was shooting some B-roll, etc., there was felt a little light, which is interesting considering the narrative that we're about to get into, I believe, with how the park is going. And by that I mean in comparison to what we saw last week with our State of DCA report, where it was absolutely bonkers. It was the most unexpected crowds I had ever seen. I gotta figure we're gonna see something like that today at Disneyland, right? Same day of the week, Friday afternoon. It's also a similar holiday, which we'll also get into. You know what, let's just get down to the park. Greeted by a horse-drawn streetcar. Lovely. And that music, by the way. The Main Street and Town Square music, exceptional. Like it definitely puts you in the moment. It fills you up when you get here. It makes you happy. That music makes me happy, hearing that. That's why you come to Disneyland, right? To be happy. So let's take that first walk down Main Street and just do a quick vibe check on the park. Oh, that was happiness right there. Oh my God, I love it. Look at. That's something that I care to notice often, is how much pavement is visible under my feet. It's a good tell about how crowded things are. But I will say, even though we saw that, and even though it feels a little light, it is not. I've already done a lap, did our construction footage earlier today, and the park is pretty, well, it was early, so it's hard to tell, but it felt pretty busy for that time of day, for that, you know, I shoot those in the morning. Whereas it is now, it's like 10 minutes after 12. But this is actually considerably less crowded than our last State of Disneyland report on Main Street right here, and considerably less crowded than, I would even say, Buena Vista Street and Hollywood Boulevard were. Maybe not considerably, maybe that's not the right word. Noticeably, that's a better word. It's noticeably less busy. But having said that, let's talk about park accessibility. How easy is it to get into Disneyland today, this week, this month? Let's go look at the reservation calendar. All right, let's first look at the single day ticket calendar. And I have to say, once again, this is reminding me of the scenario that we encountered about a month ago. There are 3 consecutive days sold out right now. The 16th, the 17th, and the 18th are all sold out. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't know what the strategy is there. To be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out. Unless that strategy is they're just letting in fewer people into the park. Seeing 3 consecutive days sold out, seeing that I can't buy a ticket to get into the park today, I can't just walk up and buy a ticket, in conjunction with the InspireKey calendar, which is also showing those days sold out, and then the following Monday as well. InspireKeys cannot get a reservation for today, Saturday or Sunday or Monday. Put those two together. Single day tickets sold out, InspireKey reservations sold out. That should equal a max capacity day. This should be the fullest that they want Disney to be. I don't know if that's what we're going to encounter today, but that's what this calendar is telling us, is that they don't want any more people in the park today. Okay. By the way, let's look at the Enchant Key. This is another interesting observation. Sold out today. No, can't get a reservation for today. Enchant Keys are also blocked for Saturday and Sunday and next Saturday. They're blocked out. I mention that because it's not very often, or it's atypical, I should say, for Enchant Keys to be blocked out and for Inspire Keys to have the same day sold out. Enchant Key is blocked out on the 17th and 18th. Inspire Keys are sold out the 17th and 18th. Typically, it is usually the case where if Enchant Key is blocked out, there are reservations available for Inspire Key. That further tells me that this is the most people that Disney wants in the park today. I'm really curious to see if that's what we're going to encounter as we walk down Main Street again. It was pretty light when we just did a little vibe check before. Is that what we're going to encounter on the wait times? The standby wait times that we're going to see today? Is that going to be what we see in the choke points, like in Adventureland and Tomorrowland? I'm really, really curious. I know we've been talking about this for a long time, and every week I get flabbergasted because it's flabbergasting. So let's get back to work. And with that, the stage is set. Let's go make our way into the park and explore the magic and wonder that is the Disneyland Resort. I'm very, very excited to do this for you again once more today. Very excited to be able to say hi to Walt and Mickey here at the partner statue. Something I'll never tire of. I love the hub. I love the hub. I love the statue. I love the castle in the background. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. Best possible way to start a Disneyland day. Am I right to go say hi to Walt and Mickey? I really feel like it sets the mood, right? Which we've done already. Let's go to Adventureland. And it is often the case that we get our first taste, our first idea of what's happening in the parks at this point right here, crossing through the entrance into Adventureland. There's a little bit of a choke point here as you come around the corner and enter the land proper. So even if it's not as busy as it should be or could be, I wouldn't call this max capacity. Certainly, it's still pretty crowded. It's still very crowded. Did I just hear a rotary phone ringing back there? What is happening? I know they have that as a ringtone, but I think that's happening inside a gift shop. They've got a rotary phone in that gift shop somewhere. Looks like Jungle Cruise. I thought it was closed for a second. There's nobody up top at all. Hosted 30 minutes, nobody upstairs, nobody downstairs. That is, oh, there's no way. It's empty down here. That requires further investigation. I have to see where the back of this queue is right now. Still no stopping. We're going upstairs, and that's about it. It's just the upstairs, the wings, and the left and the right. Every time I do that, I have to walk out back out the queue. It's always, it's always wild. It's like awkward sometimes. Yeah, that's it, right there. That's it. There's nothing up there. Obviously nothing back there. Not 30, not even 20. That's probably 10 or 15 minutes, tops. They're not messing around over here at Indiana Jones Adventure, though. That's posted at 65. Glad to see that it's up and running. That's always positive. No way to call this. I mean, it could be 65, maybe not. But it's not exceptionally busy. I'll give it that. Certainly it is usually the case on a busy day. You're gonna fill up all these switchbacks over here, and you're gonna see a queue popping up over there at Lightning Lane, which I see a few. There is a presence. The Lightning Lane force is kind of strong here. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's not a 65-minute queue. Probably 45, all things being equal. Oh, Pirates, man. Guys, I have been doing a lot of observing at Pirates and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway recently. Pirates has gotten insane. It's gotten off the chain a little bit. I was not expecting, people are reacting. People are using those lightning lanes for pirates, man. Now it is just 12:30, whereas the times that I was doing my observations was closer to 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's not likely we're gonna get the same kind of crowd. It's usually busier at 3 or 4 o'clock than it is at 12:30, 1 o'clock like it is now. But it's posted at 30. At 12:35, as mentioned, it is presently 12:35, posted 30 minutes. This definitely does not feel as dense as those evening sessions were. But the queue is running out here towards Tiana's. That actually, no, oh no. This is, God, it's not even 30, nope. We're 0 for 3 so far, I think. The queue has already stopped right here. Hi.
Around the roofs!
On the bigger days, you know, it goes back here all the way to Tiana's Palace. Oh, that smells good. It's almost lunchtime too. I need to be eating soon. It would go out back into these section back here. They might even run it, you know, in this section back there. But they're looping them back before you even get past Cafe Orleans. That is going to be less than 30. Meanwhile, part of my observation process is to see how they're managing, how they are mixing in Lightning Lane guests with standby. And it really all depends on how busy Lightning Lane is, and that dictates how they do it. They're still doing it right here at the top of this, you know, the bridge. But while it's not so busy like it is right now, this queue is not full, right? A lot of space here in this queue. While it's like that, it has been my observation that they send all of the Lightning Lane to the left and all of the standby to the right. And it was kind of what I was hoping for. At points like this, it's what I was hoping for, that they would keep one dedicated line for Lightning Lane. That's the least impactful on standby. You see that? I'm just gonna keep it here. They were holding standby on the right, and now she's telling him, yeah, don't go that way, you gotta go into that queue, right? See, they're keeping the left lane for Lightning Lane and keeping standby in the right side. And I think they're gonna keep doing that, even while Lightning Lane is slow. They're gonna keep that queue open, because you don't want to get too much of a backup there. So when the Lightning Lane does show up, you don't want to have a bunch of standby guests in that left side. There you go, they keep doing that. The Lightning Lane is going left, standby going right. That's what I was hoping they would do. I would just want to see how that works. I don't know how effective it is in the long run yet, because as I mentioned, some of those sessions that I've been doing recently, standby has been pretty brutal. And by brutal, I mean where it's posted at 45 and it takes 55. Normally, Pirates is always a win. Almost always, it was less than the posted wait time. But I have yet to see any kind of significant miss by Disney in that regard. Sometimes it's under, sometimes it's right there, but it's by, like, you know, margin of error of 10% or less. I have yet to see like a posted 45 or 50 and it's actually 20, you know? Like you would get that back in the day, pre-Lightning Lane. So the jury's still out on the impact. Hi, Red. How are you? Just having a conversation with Red there off camera, because it's weird for me to do that on camera. But Red confirmed that she has no idea why the auctioneer is selling chickens. She said it's dumb and that they don't want chickens, especially at 10 shillings per hen, even if they're egg layers, every one of them. So the jury's still out on Pirates of the Caribbean and the effect that Genie Plus is having on it. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good effect. It's not a positive effect. Although previous updates I've suggested it's not necessarily a negative one either. It's been exceptionally busy. And when it gets busy, you should expect to wait longer. You should expect Pirates to be a longer wait than usual. Every attraction should be longer. So I'm not entirely sure. Those were some busy nights. I have to tell you, it's been very busy here at Disneyland the past week, 2 weeks or so, which is kind of why I'm curious to see how this day continues to develop. Let's keep walking towards Haunted Mansion. Red is great. She is one of the best characters to walk around and meet here at New Orleans Square. I love her. Hopefully you guys caught our most recent construction update. There are things happening behind them walls. Just giant earth movers back there doing goodness knows what. It's so wild, the amount of destruction that is happening back there in such a sacred place. You know what I mean? I mean, I know it's going to wind up being for the better, but the Haunted Mansion, you would think is just untouchable. Even for the lousy part of the queue back there. Look, that queue stinks. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'll go ahead and say it. I don't mind them doing what they're doing to that queue back there. It was nothing. It was okay, I guess, but it was just a bunch of straight switchbacks. Kind of confusing because the way they set it up, you're like, oh my God, am I almost there? No, you're not even close. You're only halfway. So I don't mind that it's okay for me. It's okay that they're doing that. It's just hard to look at. It's kind of, it's kind of crushing to see giant piles of dirt and construction equipment like that back there. It's really, really invasive. Mark Twain, still waiting. It's supposed to be open by now, but there has been some delays. We're now looking at February 24th. We got another week or so for that to reopen. Look at, I mean, just seeing those machines pop out over the wall like that makes me feel a certain kind of way, not in a good way. Oh, man. I do my best, you guys. I do my best. Actually, let's talk a minute now while we're here about Splash Mountain, about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. News recently, we saw the animatronic for Tiana. She looks really, really good. Still people are talking about it. Still people are trying to figure out whether or not they like it or are just decided that they don't. But one of the things that was mentioned in that update from Disney was that they're looking at summer for Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom. They're looking at summer, and then they said just later in 2024. They didn't even give us a season. However, I've got some guesses. I feel like summer definitely, for sure, but I don't even think it's going to be late summer. I think it could be early summer or midsummer. I think August seems reasonable. They look to be nearly done at Walt Disney World. It looks to me like when they're doing, log testing, flume testing, that's a good sign that they are getting close to the finish line. Meanwhile, here at Disneyland, as I mentioned, they're giving us only later in 2024. Some people were assuming winter. I was one of those. I thought it was going to be winter of 2024. But when you do the mental math, I think it's going to be fall and maybe even early fall. I feel like they are feeling a lot of pressure. They want to get this done as fast as possible. They want to create some positive vibes, some positive energy. That's why they've been working overtime here on this site. I think you could see this as early as November or maybe even October. It all depends really on delays. Be that, with the construction of the mountain itself or maybe weather. We've had a lot of bad weather recently, and that certainly has caused some delays, I'm sure. We know how much that cost Toontown. It cost them, a week of construction time at Toontown, but it happened at such a bad time. It happened right near the opening of the land that they had to delay the reopening of Toontown. But it also cost them more time on the back end because they wound up rushing the job, not doing it right, and it caused a lot more delays, construction delays. They still haven't figured out what they're doing at Donald Duck's Pond. I've even stopped reporting on that. That thing is just such a story now, or a non-story. It's just never gonna be a thing. But we had the issues with, with the tree in that little play area right there. So hopefully it's good that the weather happened now, further away from the finish line, to the point where I do think it's possible we could see an October or November opening for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. 100 Acre Wood, ladies and gentlemen. Delightful. Unfortunately, we didn't make it all the way to Galaxy's Edge to do our tip board test there, or for Tatooine Sunset. Today we're stopping at the Hungry Bear because I am starving, I need to get some proper lunch, and I want to have a chicken sandwich. So we're up here at the upper deck at the Hungry Bear. We're going to enjoy some river traffic, and let's take a look at the tip board. Oh, and a chicken sandwich. All right, guys, let's get back to work. Let's see now if that tip board is holding up with what we've been seeing in the park so far and what we saw on the reservation calendar. Alice in Wonderland, 35 minutes, that's pretty standard. Autopia, 45. Return time of under an hour. 45 is pretty strong for Autopia. That's a good size wait. Big Thunder is a standard 40 though. That's kind of light. But a return time of 3 hours. That's a long return time for Big Thunder, in my opinion. Buzz Lightyear is closed. Casey is at 20 minutes, so we're looking at probably one train again there. Look at Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster. 60 minutes. I'm kind of scared to be going into Toontown here in a little bit. That doesn't look very promising. Dumbo, 35. That's standard to kind of the high end. Nemo, 15. Indiana Jones, that's about where we left at 55 minutes with a return time in 7 hours. So people are buying Genie Plus today, but using it so far on just a couple of attractions. Small World, 30 minutes. That's pretty good. Return time of now. Jungle Cruise, 25. When we saw that before, they were calling it 30, more like 10 or 15. Mad Tea Party, 1 rotation. Winnie the Pooh, 20 minutes. You know, we didn't really look at that, actually. We walked right by Winnie the Pooh. I was too busy looking at the 100 Acre Wood. But the queue was long-ish for Winnie the Pooh. Hour for Matterhorn. Huh. Return time in just under 3 hours. That's a busy day. One of my railways closed. Hopefully that's open by the time we get there so we can see how that looks. Smuggler's Run is up to nearly an hour, 50 minutes with a return time of 3 hours. We were there earlier today, it was at 15 minutes. So the park has definitely picked up. Toad's 20, Peter Pan 35. I mean, it's just the same every single time, isn't it? Pinocchio 10. Pirates is, what was it? It was 30 when we walked by, but it wasn't 30. Now it's 35. And look at that, see, I was saying, a return time of an hour and 45 minutes, that's pretty high. For Pirates, I think. People are using it. People are using Lightning Lane for Pirates. Snow White is 15, Space Mountain 70, standard return time for Genie Plus at over 5 hours. That's actually pretty standard. I know it's depressing, right? Star Tours 40, that's a little longer than usual. Return time of an hour. Rise of the Resistance, we're going to be going there next. 80 minutes. And a return time, look at that. It's not very often that you see a return time that isn't now for either, I should say, of Rise of the Resistance or Radiator Springs Racers. Normally those return times are always now. They just sell them and let them go right down. So an hour return time, that's going to inhibit sales, in my opinion. And there you go. Rise back here at Section 3. That's pretty full for standby. You obviously don't want to see it getting out here into Section 4, but it hardly ever does. Hey guys, it hardly ever does. So Section 3 is kind of that's a longish wait for standby. That's a full group. And I'm also expecting to see a lot of people in the Lightning Lane queue right now, based on the fact that we just saw an hour return time for Lightning Lane. So that means they're stacking them. They are selling more than they were expecting to, more than the usual demand. And sure enough, there's a lot of folks right here at the gate. And we've got a collection of guests at the mix point where these guests are queued up. They're going to go into the rock work there and come out the other side at the entrance to the Ray Room. For those of you who are curious where Lightning Lane intersects with Standby on this attraction. So that's a pretty, I mean, I've seen worse, obviously. When we were here 2 weeks ago, it was way worse than that, but I have a feeling that was a unique situation, one created by perhaps a breakdown or something like that. This is just natural high demand right now. It's a busy day, and they're selling a lot of Lightning Lane today. This is just pure sales. Which brings to mind a conversation. I mean, that sounds like it's good news for Genie Plus and Lightning Lane, right? As a separately sold ticket, or product. Another expense for Disneyland guests. Disney must love that. I'm sure they do. But I'm still not sold that it's a benefit to the company in general. We talked a bit last week about keeping our eyes open and our ears open for changes in policy. We're still doing that. Change is in the air at the Disney company, for sure, and not just, in the movie, in the studios, but in the parks and Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Change is in the air, and we're going to keep watching. But that's a situation that I feel like I can see a future. I really can. I can see a future where they realize that's not the boon that they thought it would be, especially when you have the ability to compare Genie Plus sales and Lightning Lane sales to Max Pass. Because they don't have that at Walt Disney World. Genie Plus is pure profit at Walt Disney World compared to what they had before. We had a baseline with Max Pass. We had an opt-in rate and a baseline and everything. So they can see that if it's doing better or worse, because people are buying Genie Plus or Lightning Lane, they're not spending that money somewhere else. And that's something that we talked about. I had that conversation before Genie Plus had just been a rumor. They were talking about it. And I'm like, hi, Bright Suns. We were talking about you can't just stack costs on top of and expect the guests to just keep paying and paying and paying. At some point, they're going to say, Brian, if you want me to get that, it's going to cost you something else. We're not going to buy that churro. And I don't know why my gimbal is being such a weirdo right now. Let's recalibrate. There we go. Sure, I'll buy, Bright Suns, guys. Sure, I'll buy that Genie Plus. Okay, but I'm not buying a t-shirt, or I'm going to bring my own food. There's a trade-off for that. And I feel like they may just be coming around to that. I'm hoping, anyway, because, the net cost of the company is worse than if they had done nothing at all, in my opinion.
Move over. Enjoy your day in the outpost. Clear the way, please.
Oh, they're gonna go see what Savi's up to. Hide the lightsabers. Well, that's interesting. In the few minutes that it took us to get from Hungry Bear to the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction, it's down to 30 minutes standby. But it's definitely a lot of people out here right now. Oh look, they got R2-D2 as well. Beep boop bop. And it looks like that 30-minute posted wait time is drawing a standby crowd. It is never the case where I could just stand here in front of the entrance and just watch a flow of guests going through the standby side. It's a little backed up here on Lightning Lane, but standby, my goodness, look at that. I can't remember the last time I've seen something like that. That's purely the 30-minute wait time, and that will change, I'm sure, as more of these guests. My goodness, it's almost all standby. I would have asked those guests going into standby right now to look up into that window and see that there are definitely guests just straight posted there right now. I think they're maybe even taking a nap, lying down. That's not a good sign. He's waving at us. He's very, very bored. That's the look of somebody who's been in that queue for a while and is not expected to move anytime soon. Things to look out for, you guys. Things to look out for when you're trying to decide whether or not you want to get into a given queue. Millennium Falcon is one of those attractions where there's a wide disparity. It fluctuates greatly on the go, no-go scale. I think Kylo just went backstage.
By the gate. Now, the rest of you go about your business.
Oh.
Go.
It's kind of fierce. In any case, as I was saying earlier, keeping our eyes open. I'm watching. Changes in the air. Things are going to be happening here. And some of it could be having to do with pelts and the proxy war that's going on right now. They're still in the middle of that vote. That's going to be a little while before all those votes come in and figure where we stand with the board of directors. But even if Peltz doesn't win that proxy war and get his seat on the board, even if that doesn't happen, we're still going to be seeing side effects, aftershocks of this battle, where Disney is maybe starting to realize that the guests have to be considered. The viewers have to be considered. The people who go and buy tickets to the movies and pay for their Disney Plus subscriptions. They have to be considered first and above all others. Eventually, this can go on for a while. It could. They could survive on nostalgia and pure love as they have been. Disneyland, as I've said in the past, keeps doing amazing business because we just love it so much, and there's very little that they could do to dissuade us because Disneyland as a place is separate from all that politics. But they still have to react, and I think there's still going to be changes made here and across all Disney parks. I mean, look at this. This is Fantasyland right now. Hi guys. It's 2:07 in the afternoon. That's a solid day. By the way, I just saw a train go by, Casey Jr. train. Where I saw that train going by, as we discussed in the last update, if there were two trains, there would be one right here in the station already. So Disney is definitely down a train here. Casey Jr. is down a train. That's the one train, the number 9, I guess. Look at Fantasyland go, though. Look at. You can say it's too busy, which maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, okay. So we have achieved busy status with this view, but seeing all these guests here at Fantasyland makes me very, very happy, very excited, very glad to know that so many people feel that vibe, feel that Fantasyland vibe. I love Fantasyland. I love being here. It's probably, I don't know, man. It might be my favorite land, if only because of just the way it makes me feel. Tomorrowland is great because of the music. Toontown makes me feel great. Love the music there too. Galaxy's Edge is awesome, Star Wars fan. But there's something about Fantasyland, it takes me all the way back to the beginning, and to Walt, and the history and the nostalgia of this place. Fantasyland, I love that it gets its respect like this and its attention. All these attractions, people are like, yeah, let's do that. Let's go on a dark ride. Let's go. I love imagining the situation where guests are, as a group, like, what should we do next? Where should we go? There's Space Mountain, there's Big Thunder, we can see a parade. What time is the fireworks? But some of them are going, no, let's go ride Mr. Toads. Let's crash the dark rides at Fantasyland. Yes! And if you did decide to crash those dark rides here at Fantasyland, you might be up for a bit of a wait. Pinocchio, it said 20, I think, when we checked the tip board, and it's all of that, I think. It's not often you see the back of the queue right here. They're gonna go all the way back there and inside as well. It's a quick moving queue, but that's pretty long for Pinocchio. It doesn't often get into that position. This is pretty standard for Snow White. That's 25 minutes right there. If we're calling 20 for Pinocchio and 25. Oh, look at that, nailed it. Snow White's Enchanted Wish is 25 minutes right there on the board. We're at 45 total. Jump across the way, Peter Pan is right where it should be. Although they were calling this 35 on the tip board, I'm seeing all the queue being used. Each one of these little sections has a time attributed to it. And so you can subtract X number of minutes for each little section that isn't being used. Maybe, 2 minutes perhaps per section, like right here. So, but they're using all of it. So, and the baseline is 45 minutes. The whole queue is 45 minutes. Posted wait time here says 40 from that point. But it's more than that. It might even be 45 or 50. So what are we looking at now? Now we're at 90 minutes to crash the dark rides at Fantasyland. 90 minutes, and then Toads, of course. This is never a no-go for me. But that's a pretty lengthy queue for Toads. It's not coming out into the walkway yet, which it has. But I'd call that 20 minutes also. So you're at maybe 25 even. So you're at 120 if you want to hit those 4 dark rides. Add in the time it takes you to go between the attractions, the time on the attraction. You're looking at probably 140 minutes. That's 2 hours and 20 minutes if you want to crash those 4 dark rides right now in Fantasyland A. Actually, if you want to add Alice in Wonderland. People don't talk about Alice being a long queue, but it's up there with Peter Pan. This is always one of the busiest queues in Fantasyland, and that is no exception what we're seeing right now. That's going to be 35 at least. They're calling it 30, and maybe it could, no, there's no way. It's out here around the mushroom. 30 would be the low end. If you got that done in 30, I'd be impressed. But all in, 5 dark rides, about 180 minutes. That's 3 hours. I like the sound of that, you guys. I feel like that's a great, and this is something that you do, by the way, in the middle of the day, right now. This is when you do that. You don't do the dark rides at the beginning of the day, or you could do them at the end of the night, I suppose. But this is the time of day where I skip Lightning Lane attractions and I hit standby attractions or rides here in Fantasyland. This is the best time to do it, in my opinion. Mad Tea Party is looking at, that's 2 rotations, no, 3 rotations probably. By the way, I say that this is the best time to do it, not because it's less busy now, obviously it isn't, than it would be, let's say, in the morning. Definitely, you're gonna wait less. You can get those attractions done quicker in the morning than you could now. But the difference between, let's say you choose 4 attractions in the morning, the ones that I normally hit, Space Mountain, Matterhorn, Big Thunder, and I don't know, we'll call it Indiana Jones. Hi guys, all right. Let's say you choose to do those right now at 3 o'clock. That'll cost you, way more than 3 hours. It'll cost you probably, well, I would say at least 4, maybe 5. You're gonna spend a lot more time trying to hit those attractions right now at this time of day than you would the dark rides this time of day. I hope that makes sense. The disparity, what we're trying to do is a relational disparity. It's everything you do right now is going to take longer. That's just the fact of it. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock or whatever, everything you do right now is going to take longer.
Oh, no, don't go anywhere.
But how does that relate to how it would be in the morning or in the evening? Act accordingly. I feel like there's a, oh, I see, they're putting ropes up. People are starting to condense into the walkways, and I was trying to figure out why, but it's because they're getting ready for the 3:30 parade, I think. Ropes are going up, and they're starting to prepare, so that tends to pinch the walkways a little bit. What's up, Len? Oh, and Merida too. Hi, Merida.
Hi, dude.
Wow, how delightful. This is the part that I have been a little wary of today after having looked at the tip board and seeing Gadget's Go Coaster at an hour. You just don't want to see that. But you want to hear that. Look, so much happy in Toontown, even though Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is not open. It was closed when we checked the tip board before. You're gonna get a lot of loitering. Just check this out. This is one of the reasons why I don't recommend, or maybe why I do recommend, I should say. If you see Runaway Railway pop open at like 20 minutes and you're, you know, in Tomorrowland, it's probably too late. You gotta do the opposite. You gotta say, okay, now we're not gonna do that. We're gonna wait till it gets up to 60 and let people get sick of trying to wait at a 68-minute queue, let it come down a little bit. You get here now from Tomorrowland, you're probably not gonna get that 20-minute wait. I mean, you might still beat 60, I don't know. But I like the opposite. But one of the reasons why I say that is because of this. Just people hanging out and waiting. They see it's closed, and it's been closed for probably close to an hour, I would imagine. So they're all just kind of hanging out here, waiting for it to reopen. They want to capture that quick standby, and they will get one. All these guests standing by out here are going to get a quick. It's just like Rise of the Resistance. They're going to get a quick standby, but that's going to fill up fast. It's going to, you know, attract a lot of attention when that board changes finally, and it'll be full in no time. That's what you're competing with. Everywhere you go, every big attraction in the park is having the same situation whenever there's a breakdown, or if there's ever just for some reason, you know, a lower than expected wait time. That's what you're up against. That could be Big Thunder, that could be Space Mountain, Rise of the Resistance, Falcon, Runaway Railway, Indiana Jones, you name it. Even Jungle Cruise. I did a session not long ago. Jungle Cruise was posted at 20 minutes on a busy night. It was at 20 minutes. And I thought, wow, that's pretty light. And I came back to the queue at like maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, and it was up to 40. And I cannot describe to you the number of people that I observed walking up to the queue and seeing that wait board and saying, oh, 40, what happened to 20? And then just bailing. They just changed their mind. That's a balk. That's what we talked about in the State of DCA report. You have one expectation, you get there and it's completely different, and now you don't want to do it anymore. So I was saying to myself when filming that is that wait a little bit and that 40-minute will go back down to 30 or 20 because people are going to be balking. It didn't happen for Mission Breakout because Mission Breakout was kind of insane that day. There was a lot of lightning lane going on, and so it just kept building and building and building. They weren't able to cycle all those lightning lane guests, but most times they do. As for the rest of Toontown, Minnie is 45 minutes. Wow, and she's back there now. She's doing the tea party meet as opposed to her living room meet and greet. Mickey's is 30, pretty standard. It's almost always 30 whenever we walk by here. Do you guys hear that whistling? Is that just not divine? Is that just not terrific? Doesn't that make you happy? You know, they say that people who whistle or hum to themselves are genuinely happy people. I believe that. How can you whistle or hum and not be happy? Am I right? Almost forgot to check in on gadgets. It's now posted at 45, so there was a correction by the guests. They did react and say we're not going to get in a 60-minute queue for gadgets at 45. I still wouldn't get in this queue. You definitely don't want to see guests coming out here on this side of the tracks, for sure. Preferably you want to be on the opposite side of where Dale is there. Preferably you want the back of the queue to be there. Having said that, of course, if it's a busy day, it's a busy day. Busy days are going to busy day. You're not going to get a huge break. You're not probably going to see the queue hit that point where you want to be. I'm just saying what's typical, what I normally see, and then you guys can say if you want to ride that attraction or not. Bottom line is do whatever you want. You know what I mean? I just want to make it easier for you all if you can, you know? But if you want to ride Gadgets Go Coaster, if you got a junior who says, I want to ride Gadgets Go Coaster and you're here, then get on it. Go for it. You know, the queue does move pretty quick, Gadgets does. It does move pretty quick because it's a quick cycle. You have to wait for the train to keep cycling around. But it's a pretty quick cycle. The ride itself is only about 70 seconds, I think. And it doesn't take very long for them to cycle the guests in and out of the vehicle, so it moves. I'm seeing guests walk out of Roger Rabbit. That's not a good sign. This Toontown is screwed right now. And so is Gadgets, for that matter. I'm seeing guests walk out of Roger Rabbit. I'm seeing, yeah, no, it's closed. Yeah, no posted standby here, so Roger Rabbit has gone down. Wow. What are they going to do with all these guests? Is everybody going to get a flop over pizza at Cafe Daisy? I mean, you could try, but it is packed here. Every table full. Snipers everywhere too. And here it goes, it's happening. They just opened the doors. I was hoping I would catch this. Here we go. Let's see how long it takes for the queue to reach the door. This is fascinating. Still have a chance. You got about 5 minutes, I figure, from now. 2:32. It's 2:32 right now. Normal influx of crowds. Those bystanders, the loiterers, they're going to get that good early access. They're going to get a 10-minute walk through the queue. And now it's just a question of how long it takes for everybody to get in here. Could meet Pete. Hey, Pete. Slowly but surely, they're working that crowd in there. That standby crowd. Queue presently at the fountain. And it's going to be interesting to watch how many of these guests come in. They kind of sort of attract and stick to the back of this queue. And how many are just here randomly showing up at Toontown coincidentally at this moment. Maybe closer to 10 minutes. You might have maybe 10 minutes to get here to beat the rush because we are in the back end of the park, kind of like Rise as well. It takes probably, depending on where you're coming from, it takes a good 5, 7, 8, 10 minutes to get here. So you do have a little bit of, you have a small opportunity. The guests that are going to have the best chance are obviously the ones that are already in Fantasyland. And then maybe Tomorrowland. But if you're over there in Frontierland, Adventureland, New Orleans Square, I don't like your odds. Well, it took a little bit longer than I thought it would. Doors opened at 2:32. In 10 minutes at 2:42, the back of the queue was just before you get into that first prop room. 5 minutes later, at 2:47, you can see the back of the queue extending down the hall and approaching the last, or the first room you enter as you cross through the door. And now, at 10:49, we just watched these two guests reach the door, the actual door. So it took 17 minutes for the entire queue to fill up and reach the door, which is It's posted at 35. That was the time that they switched to immediately. That was the first time updated. That's actually a 45-minute wait. The door, for my calculations, is 45 minutes. 17 minutes. That's how long it took to negate any advantage you might have had at the attraction reopening. Not to mention the fact that it is typical for there to be a rush for Lightning Lane at the same time. If an attraction is closed, those guests who wanted to ride Runaway Railway using Lightning Lane, they're going to rush that. They're going to rush that queue as well. So you're going to have a higher density of Lightning Lane guests than you might normally have at that time. Pays to watch Fresh Baked, you guys. Gotta get out of here now. I came back out into Fastland. Magic Happens is about to fire. Gotta get out of here. Let's go find the Matterhorn, see what she's up to. We saw a 60-minute standby on the tip board when we checked it about an hour ago. Lightning Lane looks to be pretty light right now. Not too bad. But it's still posted at 65. It's actually grown. I don't know if I'd agree with that. They're not using, what, 3 of those queues? The switchbacks out here, a lot of emptiness going on. It's the parade effect. That's what that is. This is where you got to use your analysis mind and do the opposite, as I've been suggesting. They haven't adjusted the wait time yet because it hasn't actually happened. But people are not getting in the standby queue right now because they're out watching the parade. They're getting ready for the parade, which is going off in about 30 minutes. So there are, I don't know, 8,000 to 10,000 guests sitting on a curb right now, not in a queue. So that 65 for the Matterhorn is going to dwindle quickly. But be prepared to do the opposite at 340 or 345, because this queue is going to go down. The wait time is going to reflect that. The wait time is going to go down to 30, 40 minutes. People are going to be done with the parade, and they're going to jump into the nearest queue, Matterhorn, if you're out here on the path. And that 30 or 40 minute is going to draw crowds, and it's going to draw people coming in from the parade, and that'll turn into an hour, 80 minutes, like that. Busy day today, you guys. It has been a busy day. As I mentioned before, that lightness that I was seeing on Main Street, you guys, didn't feel like it was representative of what was happening inside the park. But having said that, do you consider this a max day? Is this the maximum number of guests that you think Disney wants in the park? Autopia next. This was, oh gosh, what was it, 45 minutes before? 45? It is 3:01. As we look at this, and it says 25 minutes. The whole, everything's full back there. And I feel like people may have already reacted to this one as well. Now that could be 25 if that's all they're doing. I can't tell if they're running guests around the rotunda, which I don't believe they are. I don't get the feeling that there are guests in the, that's the only word I can think of is rotunda. But still, you don't like seeing all those guests up there in the risers like that. 25 minutes, though, is conceivable. I think Space Mountain's closed. I'm getting a closed vibe off the mountain right now. Yep. There are casts posted out here. None shall pass. We'll take that opportunity to casually and silently walk through Tomorrowland right now. with Space Mountain closed, you can expect to have a residual effect on Astro Blasters, on Buzz Lightyear and Star Tours. You can expect those guests to filter into the next available attraction. Could be Autopia as well. Buzz is presently at 40, but that's going to go up. You can see the huge queue forming over here. This is Lightning Lane. That's a very long Lightning Lane queue. And that's also a very long standby queue. You don't want to see a switchback right here. This is bad. This is very, very bad. This is a pass. This is a no-go. This is one of those incorrect times on the low end. Not to mention that they're also using the back queue down here. It's one thing to see the queue stretch back that way if they're not using this space. But if they're using this extension and the extension that runs all the way back to, you know, Tinkerbell's meet and greet back there, that's 10 or 15 minutes each section. This is a hellscape right now for Buzz Lightyear. This is worst possible scenario. I would not be surprised if by the time I walk back there again right now, or maybe after I do Star Tours, we'll see that time jump up to maybe 50, 55 minutes. Speaking of Star Tours, 35 minutes is the posted wait time right here. Again, that's a longer than usual Lightning Lane queue down there, so people are filtering out of Space Mountain into these attractions. That is abnormal. The standby, I don't know, I'd have to go all the way in there to see how, what? It just jumped to 40. Star Tours did, just jumped to 40. I might have called this 35 if they had said it was, but then I don't know how full the back room is there. It's full-ish at least. It's about half full in there, which, I mean, for a 40-minute queue, that would be about what I'd expect. I think that posted wait time is reacting to what's happening out there in Lightning Lane, getting the more than usual amount of guests in Lightning Lane. Now, I'm kind of shocked that we, while we did Star Tours and watched that queue jump up to, went up to 40, this one is still at 40. Now, interestingly though, I don't know if you heard, just as I was saying that, I think I was recording, somebody said, oh, it jumped up to 40. So they could have already reacted from a 30-minute, you know, time to 40. Although I still think 40 is a lie. I still don't think this is 40 minutes. But it isn't. It certainly isn't what it was before 40. Probably 30. Not even close. And I can hear magic happening right now as we speak. I've got to hustle across the hub. Whew. Just barely made it. They were coming right for us. Magic Happens was last stop of the day, Frontierland. It's made of wood. Oh my gosh. Wow. 65 minutes, you guys. Posted at 65. Standby's not, that's not a 65-minute queue for standby. I'd be stopped right now. There would be guests where I'm at right now if this was 65. All that would be full in there. Hey, how are you? That would all be full, and we would see a huge queue out here at the Lightning Lane entrance, and there is not. So I'm curious where they got the 65 number. It's also interesting because that wait time exceeds what I would define as the breaking point for standby guests. You know, the self-regulating maximum that guests will wait. I usually figure about 50 or 60 minutes. 60 minutes tops. You hardly ever see Big Thunder at 60 plus. 65. That's really, really high. Really high. Having said that, as I just mentioned, there's no way that's a 65-minute standby. Probably 30 or 40 minutes is my guess. And that is our State of Disneyland report, you guys. Final thoughts. Obviously, a very busy day today. February is holding its own for sure. As we've said in previous episodes, there's really no longer an off season, just a not as busy as a busy day season, plenty busy. I would say actually that these crowds that we've been seeing the past few weeks are equal to possibly the crowds we saw at Christmas. It was busier for Halloween and Thanksgiving than it was during Christmas. I think that was observable. And this February has been as busy as that Christmas season. That's the way it feels to me. So while it is very busy, it's still not a max day, and I'm still perplexed as to why they wouldn't want to sell a few more tickets. But as I often say, happy to see it. I'm happy to see people continuing to show their love and appreciation for this park. The park has earned it. Disneyland has earned it. It has earned our love and respect. I'm so happy to see people here enjoying themselves, having a great time at Disneyland. It's the best. I hope you guys find a way or find an opportunity to get down here. But if not, you can watch our show. And for that, we are grateful. If you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbake. You can follow us on Instagram at _freshbake, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Until next time, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Bake.